This is going to be really cringe, but I'm going to do it anyway. Okay. Did you know that over 70% of people with ADHD struggle with sleep? So you are not alone. This episode is going to be a series of what I'm going to call temporarily community Q&As. So a bunch of people with or without ADHD come together and we discuss a topic within ADHD about once a month or so. If you are interested in learning more about sleep and ADHD, I recommend checking out my last 2 or 3 episodes where I speak on why ADHD is struggle with sleep and my favorite tips and tricks to help it. And then the third one is just sleep-deprived me babbling on for 30 minutes. So enjoy. Take it away.
Yeah, well, so when it comes to me and sleep, I've always kind of had a pretty bad relationship when it comes to it, like pretty much my entire life. I used to always be, like when I was a kid, my mom was always the one coming downstairs and checking that I was actually asleep, but I was just hiding my phone underneath my pillow and then bringing it out anyways and staying up for late and then having to get up early to go to school and kind of in a constant state of sleep deprivation. I don't think playing video games really helped me with that as well. But lately I've started to try to really tackle this because I noticed I wasn't really feeling the greatest from it. I was also struggling with it. I've gone through a depression, and on my way to in recovery, I realized, wait, maybe sleep might help. And so now, after quite a bit of work on it, I can even check on my phone here on an app that I've been using that I think I've been consistently getting to bed around before 1 a.m. like for the past like at least 2-3 weeks in a row, which is a big improvement compared to how it used to be.
That's amazing. Congrats.
Thank you. And if I'm going to have to try to figure out how it is that I've been able to do it, I would say it is the number one thing for me was not drinking it too late. Because I noticed that for caffeine, coffee especially, doesn't really make me energized. But it's something for me that happens when it's on its way down and it's like getting to the half-life of the effect. It makes my mind race and won't go to rest, but it also won't like speed it up. Just keeps it at a neutral and it won't move from there until after a certain while. And also making sure that I don't drink caffeine too early in the morning by trying to drink after 1.5 to 2 hours because of the adenosine. When you wake up, you have quite a lot of it in your system, and if you drink the caffeine, it stays in the system and doesn't get cycled through. So by doing that, you'd actually don't get a midday crash like a lot of people do.
Could you quickly explain for people who don't know what adenosine is?
Yes, to the best of my ability. As far as I'm aware, it is one of the hormones that keeps us asleep to some extent. You have the melatonin and then you also have adenosine. And I think you also talked in the video about how tells us where we are in the day cycle and where we are in the day. And so basically, if you have a lot of adenosine in the morning that you need to get out of the system to then start the day cycle, and you push that forward by, let's say, 3-4 hours by drinking caffeine instantaneously, that means that your day will technically start those 3-4 hours afterwards, according to your body, and your body will get very confused. So I noticed that was actually one of the biggest helpful things for me, was actually moving the consumption of caffeine slightly down the line. It's very difficult, but it is quite nice. And after a while, you just sort of get used to it, especially when you start sleeping better, you actually have more energy in the morning.
So wait, I'm still confused on that with the adenosine and the caffeine. So as far as I'm aware, adenosine is like, it basically counts how long you've been awake. And then when you sleep, it like resets. But are you saying that caffeine can increase it again?
No, I think as far as I'm aware, it resets when you wake up. Is when it has a certain 1.5 hours whilst you're waking up. Like when you're like, you have already gone out of bed, but you have like the 1.5 hours of waking is when it gets cycled out of the system to then start building up again. So if you drink caffeine, since the caffeine attaches to the same receptors as the adenosine, what basically ends up happening, you just have a surplus of adenosine in the system that is being pushed back, and then it basically has to be taken care of later on, and then you can get very confused, and that's why a lot of people have a midday crash from caffeine as well.
Right, that makes sense. Yeah.
So that was one of the big things, and especially not drinking it either too late. I usually try to keep it ideally, at the very latest before 6, ideally before 4 in the evening. I try to keep my caffeine consumption, and then I've been trying to build a night routine. It's partly that, but I guess it's also kind of I try and build myself a goal and something that I value above all else, so that even if I am like, let's say, doom scrolling, and then I have a thing on my thing that says, okay, that I have like a night routine that's meant to start, and usually it is a half hour before I'm meant to start it, just because I know I'm not going to start it right away. So then it gives me this slight reminder, and then at midnight my phone turns into grayscale if I'm too slow, and then if I want to continue, I have to consciously put it off grayscale, which is a bit of a hassle, and basically doing that. And then even before that, when I'm trying to go to bed, I will. Now I'm experimenting with actually taking a warm shower, because that helps you when you heat up. Then your body more easily expends the heat, which gets you colder, and you have to get down to a certain degree, like body temperature, to fall asleep more easily. Which is also why a lot of people like to lower the temperature of the room when they're going to bed.
So would you take like a completely cold shower or just like a cool shower?
No, warm.
Oh, warm. Oh, so
Because-
when you come out, it cools it down. Yeah.
Yeah, because heat more easily evaporates when you are hot, so therefore it more easily gets cold. And then I like to, before I go into the shower, I don't put the lights on in the shower room. I just use my phone and with like a really bright image, and have that as like a wee night light to like not make it too bright. I've really been experimenting with the light. And then in my room, I have a candle next to my bed that I light, and that's sort of the only light source. Or I have my Philips Hue lights that I can like have turn on and off. And then I have those like by my bed, and that's like a very cozy. I noticed the candle probably helps even more so than the Philips Hue, because it just gets this cozy feeling, and maybe the smoke might reduce the oxygen. I don't know, so I'd fall asleep more easily. And then I also do a meditation right when I go to bed, and then I have my melatonin. But it's when I start the meditation.
Can I ask, do you like just meditate by yourself, or do you use like a sleep meditation?
I used to meditate by myself, but because I'm an extreme perfectionist, like I know a lot of us are, so I went, who needs help? I can do this. And then I realized, wait, it's actually a lot more difficult to stay on track when you don't have any help. And so I'm not sure if it's an actual technique when it comes to meditation. I sort of built it by myself when I was younger by doing it on my own. I just lie down on my back, and then I don't move a single muscle except for the ones I need for breathing. And it's incredibly difficult, since I don't think I have restless legs, but I get really antsy after a while, at least in the beginning. But it's just the sort of quelling the urge of moving actually sort of, I noticed, does what you want from the meditation as well. And then, of course, my misinterpretation was that when I started meditation was, oh, you don't want to think at all. But no, it isn't that you don't want to think, is that you want to acknowledge the thought and then say bye-bye and then let it go pass. And kind of, so whilst doing those two in combination, I noticed that I've gotten a lot better at having this slight friction before I do something. So it might also be through some of my medication that might help it as well, but it is something that I basically have ended up with a slight stop before I do something. So I can just go, no, wait, I actually do really need to do this now. And then, so it's still not the easiest thing in the world, but it's getting better.
That's great. That's really great. Does anyone else have similar experiences, or has anyone else tried the shower thing or meditating?
Well, I'm just a bit overwhelmed by all these new information also about coffee. Basically, what I do is that I listen to Harry Potter audiobooks in English, written by the TERF J.K. Rowling, yay. But the voice of Stephen Fry really helps me calm down, and like this I don't have to think about my day anymore, and I automatically fall asleep after maximum 1 hour.
Wow, that's still quite a while though.
Sometimes it doesn't take that long. I think on average maybe 20 minutes, so that's all right.
Yeah, that's not bad.
Yes, right. Yeah. So I've been having sleep problems since ever, and mostly since high school. And I probably haven't slept more than 4 hours since I was in high school. Yeah. And so over a period of time, I developed certain things. For example, back in high school, it was just trying to lie down and think of absolutely nothing for some time. So it was very difficult. But when I achieved that for like even for 2-3 minutes, it felt really good and really calm. But then there are these phases when nothing works. And then apart from that, once few years back, I met with an accident and it was like near fatal. And so when I was in coma for a few days when I was out of the ICU. So even in that situation, the doctors used to give me certain injections and pills to sleep because even then I could not basically sleep. Then over a period of time, and then I start dancing. So I mean, something weird like I really do sometimes is just lie down, close my eyes, and imagine myself at one of the places I've been and I really like. It can be some hill station in India, maybe the beach at North Berwick, or and then I imagine myself improvising to either music, the wind, the sea waves, or just the silence. So sometimes that's really helps. And apart from that, something which I have tried and it has sometimes worked is just I just get hold of these few videos on YouTube about yoga nidra, which is yoga for sleep. So that sometimes really helps. So, but then there are these times like last few months, it just somehow nothing is working. So what I try and often fail is just to be in bed by like 12 or 1. Yeah, and but the worst, I mean, the most frustrating part is like when I'm lying in bed and I'm thinking, okay, I'm not sleeping. I'm not doing anything. I'm just wasting time. So, in that confusion, I get up, start reading. And there I mess up because when I'm up at night, so I think, okay, I'll just go out for a smoke. And so somewhere it just gets messed up somewhere. I mean, it's just really difficult to discipline myself with that kind of pattern because apart from that, I've tried like those sleep you apps which the GP prescribed. Then there were these sleeping pills, which also did not work. So once I went to my GP and I haven't slept in 2 days and I've been having your medicines. And then she said that perhaps you should exercise. Then I told her I went to the gym in the morning. Then I went for work. Then from 5 to 9, I did all the classes back to back at the studio. And this is my this has been my schedule for the last 4 days. And then she really didn't have an answer to this. And she said the best thing we can do is give you this medicine, but just take one and don't try to just think that because it takes its time to work. But a lot of times, I think somewhere these antibiotics really do not work.
Can I
So
ask what medication they gave you?
it's for something from P.
With P?
Paris, I completely forgot. I'll have to look for the tablets. I am sure I have few tablets.
Yeah, no worries if you don't know anymore. I'm not that well versed in sleeping tablets. I was just wondering if
Yeah.
it was melatonin or not. Have you ever tried melatonin?
No, but there's something else which also I was given, which is probably some antidepressants, which is mirtazapine or something.
Oh, that rings a bell.
Yeah.
Because I do know that there
it
are
is something
some.
like this.
Okay, right. I'll look that up. Interesting.
Yeah. So what happened was when I started having these, so I wouldn't be sleeping. I wouldn't be out of bed. I wouldn't be productive. I would just be and be nothing. So then I told the GP, you know what? I mean, I really don't know because after a day I realized that probably 15 hours of my day. So I think that's a really bad feeling. Then they said that they would probably increase the dosage, which would help regulate sleep better. But I mean, it hasn't helped. Though I'm trying to get back to one of the things which have helped me in the past. So I mean, I just realized that once certain things fall into place, like if I have a schedule, my sleep is better. But to get back to that, it just sometimes feels a very difficult task.
Do you get up at the same time every morning? Or is it always different?
I mean, after I start these medicines, I get up at the same time. In a sense, I'm conscious of things, but sometimes I get this feeling of being frozen in bed, though I'm not sleeping.
Oh, like sleep paralysis.
Almost something like that.
Yeah.
Like I'm up, but I'm not up. So I'm aware of whatever is happening around. I'm even aware of the honking outside or some drunk person shouting on the road, but
But you can't move.
I'm not up. Yeah.
But are you able to move, or are you like frozen?
Somewhat. So, but even if I have to drink water, so I just don't get up. Or even if I have to go to the washroom, I just don't get up for a very long time.
Interesting.
So,
I mean, like, I've definitely look up. Do you know what sleep paralysis is? Have you heard of that before?
I have heard of it, but I'm not too sure about.
So I'm also not an expert on it. But it's basically it's a state where I've only experienced it like once or twice. Where it's basically like your body is frozen. You are not able to move because your body is basically still asleep, but your mind is awake. Like your eyes are open and you are aware of everything. Some people also have sleep paralysis demons, so they'll kind of be haunted, and it will be like this terrible state because you can't move. I've never had that, but yeah,
I do.
Yeah,
I usually see a dark person, like a shadow, in the corner or next to the window, and I had this a few times and then talked to my therapist about it, and she just told me to write down different scenarios how I would get out of this situation before I go to sleep. And at some point it actually stopped.
Oh, so like you're not seeing the demon anymore?
Yeah, I also don't have the paralysis anymore. And that's been like 2 years ago. No more, maybe 3 years. What is the concept of time? Yeah. But I recently had another paralysis, but only because I slept like for 3 hours the night before and had to finish video cutting, and it was quite stressful. So I think that's probably why I had the paralysis. And this time I wasn't alone. My partner was next to me, and he told me that I actually screamed very loudly. And I didn't know, I don't know if I did that before, but my throat felt really sore, and so but usually that didn't happen with the sore throat, and I don't think I've ever screamed before, so it was really scary, but hopefully it won't happen again soon.
Hopefully, fingers crossed.
Yes,
but that's a really good shout though, with the tip on writing it down, if anyone's struggling with sleep paralysis. But do you by any chance know the overall cause of it, like why it affects certain people and not others?
No, I don't know.
No, that's okay. I'll research it and I'll let everyone know as soon as I know.
Fantastic.
Also, with me, what happens is if I don't sleep, I don't feel tired and I don't feel sleepy. So if I don't see food or water, I can go on for like hours, if not days, without realizing that, okay, I haven't had this. And even if like at 2 a.m., if I'm asked to, go to a dance class or maybe a game of cricket or something, probably I'll be up for it. So it's not that I'm tired or I'm not even exhausted. So that I feel very strange when I see others. And so somewhere even I want to get tired. So I mean, that's and exhausted. So yeah.
Interesting. I mean, my first instinct is to say that that's probably the adrenaline, that your body is basically compensating for chronic fatigue and is kind of like pushing you up even more. But do you feel like you never get tired?
Yeah.
Interesting.
I mean, I've had those days when I've been to the gym, I've traveled for work in a train, come back, done 3-4 classes, come back again, had a shower and my dinner, and I feel like absolutely fresh. Like it's as if I've woken up after a few hours of sleep. So that's something which I have never been able to understand. I've tried to do research on this also, but I've never found anything which explains everything. So I don't really have the answers where I'm looking for them. And that apart, one more thing which has in the past helped me with sleep is maybe putting on something on the television or on the laptop, which I have watched earlier. For example, I'll just put on something like Friends or The Big Bang Theory. It'll just keep playing, and I keep doing other things, and then eventually I fall asleep. Or maybe it's one of those games which I really don't have to use too much of mind or too much of being too much of active button pushing or something, like, for example, something like Ludo or something, where I don't have to think much. But then again, it's just that too much of electronic devices around me when I'm trying to sleep. So it's a kind of contradiction, but sometimes
I do that too, especially with Friends. I think that kind of like what Lisa was saying before too, with the Harry Potter audiobook, is also because I've seen Friends, I'm sure, like over 30 times by now. I'm not even like exaggerating. And I'll often, so that I don't have the screen, I'll put it next to my bed and I'll turn off the screen, press play, so Netflix will still be playing the sound of it. And because I've seen it so many times, I can see the pictures in my head. So it's like I'm putting the TV like in my head without getting the blue light. So that really helps me. Because if it's just an audiobook, I'll often start to think too much about like either the story, or recently I've been listening to a lot of scientific factual audiobooks. So then that's like, I need to put my smart pants on, so I'm going to be thinking too much. So yeah, that's really interesting. I do just want to jump in at this point because I know, Albin, that you need to leave soon, but I'm really, really curious if you do have any facts, because I know that your dissertation is about the sleep's effect on the voice, because you're a singer, for anyone who doesn't know. Do you have anything that you could share with us on that front?
How the sleep affects the voice. Well, you see, this is where the difficulty comes in, is that we all struggle with, which is known as procrastination, even though we shouldn't be procrastinating things. But something I have noticed is that my voice does feel a lot better if I sleep well, just automatically, just how the voice feels. And then I have heard that ideally when you're going to sleep, you don't want to drink or eat too close to it, because what can happen is, if you're laying mainly on your right side, because of how the vocal, like the entire the throat goes down to the stomach, is if you have too much in your stomach when you're going to bed, it can leak up, and then that can give you pretty serious issues. But I've noticed that if I drink water before I go to bed, my voice is, or even especially electrolytes before I go to bed, my voice is in a much better state in the morning. So in case you ever have something that you need to do in the morning and you need to be able to have a speech or something, just drinking some water with electrolytes before you wake up. And even in the morning, if you drink water with electrolytes, like an electrolyte tablet, you will wake up better, because you can usually dehydrate and sweat a lot over the night. So if you get the addition of electrolytes, then you will wake up. At least I've noticed that effect on me.
Interesting. Very interesting. I want to do more research on that, because I've heard like lots of different things with electrolytes. Like some people say,
I didn't catch that. My headset died.
Oh, sorry. I want to do a little bit more research on that, because I have heard different things. I hear people that swear on it, and then I hear some people saying that it's like overrated. So I find it really interesting to hear that you have had good experiences with it. So I'm absolutely
with electrolytes.
Yes, but I think
yeah.
I think the context in which I heard it being a little bit overrated was more in terms of people thinking that when they have a hangover and they take electrolytes, that it's not as effective, but that it can rehydrate you.
So good.
Yeah. I'm going to try that then.
Quite often I have them, but usually a lot of the times the ones you buy don't really have the required amounts of them. So usually you have to double them up, and they will still not reach the level you want. Don't take my word on this, because it's all dependent on the brand. But I noticed if I drink it before I go to bed, if I've been out drinking, I will sleep much better, and then will wake up usually not even quite as hungover. That did remind me now, when it comes to sleep, something else I've done, which really works for me, is I've removed almost every light source in my room that would be like causing light bleed. Like when I go to bed, I turn off all my screens and my PC by the power button, so there's no small lights. I put a bunch of old socks, like that I just don't use anymore because I don't like them. I put them on top of like my speaker that has a wee light on it, and then like stuff like that to get rid of any light bleed, and that does improve my sleep. And really investing in nice sleeping, like bed sheets and stuff. I thought it would be like a waste of money, but then I got myself some really nice ones, and then I actually look forward to getting into bed, and that is usually a very good reward thing to get you actually to go to bed when you don't. As long as you then keep it so that you only sleep in the bed and don't just spend all day in bed. But
yeah, that's actually also something I touch on in the episode, is that like spend money on sleep because it will reward you, and it's good to look forward to going to bed. What you said with light sources, though, have you ever tried using a sleeping mask?
No.
You'd rather just...
I probably should, but I just instead bought like a bunch of different things, and I put like insulation tape on the inside of my door frame to remove light bleed, and like things underneath the door and everything. But I probably should buy a sleeping mask, but then I think that might be
too easy,
too much of a sensory thing on the face that I might not be a fan of. So then it could be very good, but I'm not sure how it would.
I do, if you like sensory wise, I had the same thing because I hate it when there's like a little... Oh, Lisa, what's knubbel in English?
Like a knot of the rubber band?
Yeah, kind of like a knot. Yeah, basically that. I hate it when there's like a thing behind my head when I like lie down. And just so you know, I asked Lisa because I know that she's the only other one who speaks Swiss German. So, but this one mask that I got from my uncle, actually, I think is really great because you can adjust it because it's with Velcro, and it goes like all around your head, and it doesn't have like the weird band thing. So if you can get your hands on one of these, I do highly recommend that over like the standard ones. And it's also really soft material, so it's nice and cozy.
Yeah, I might give that a try then.
Cool. Anyone else want to jump in? Because I feel like I had a question, but I forgot it. So
thought I had something to say, but I forgot it as well.
We have ADHD. Can you tell?
One more thing I want to say was one thing that really helps is sometimes listening to something which I've already read. In the sense, like last few days, I've also tried maybe something Aristotle's Republic, and a speaker talking about that. And, one of these good speakers, like maybe Lawrence Lessig, who's a lawyer, academic, and then, or Yuval Noah Harari. I mean, some people who are like good storytellers of things. So it always helps. It's like almost someone putting you to bed and telling a story to make you sleep. So it's just almost like that. So that sometimes really helps to listen to something either familiar or listening to someone who's a very good storyteller.
Absolutely. And can I ask, does anyone have experience with listening to sleep meditations, like on Spotify, for example?
What is a sleep meditation? Is that like guided meditation?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, I did listen to some of them, but usually I found their voices too annoying, so I stopped.
Fair enough. I would recommend checking out Sleep Cove from Christopher Fitton. I know I mentioned him like 3 times in my other episodes, but I'm like obsessed with that podcast.
I noticed. So I'm actually thinking about it. You'll have to send me a link.
Will do. Will absolutely do. I might actually be doing an interview with him soon. So stay tuned for that. Do you guys find that outside noise bothers you? Like if it's noisy outside or if you hear cars go past, does that keep you awake?
For me, it used to very badly because I come from a small island region and it is literally dead silent at night. So you cannot hear a single thing. And then I live in Glasgow and it's single glazing. There's so much bleed through. I live above a pub. It was a big difficulty in the beginning, but I think then just when I started with the melatonin especially, and when I started taking the melatonin after I actually decided to go to bed, that's when it started to help me. Because if I took the melatonin, I think they say that you should take the melatonin before you go to bed and then go to bed when you feel sleepy, but that doesn't work because then it will just ignore the fact that I am sleepy. But if I'm already in bed trying to sleep and then become sleepy, it's a very good thing and I fall asleep.
Wait, say that last bit again?
It's really good because if I take the melatonin when I go to bed and put on my 10-minute meditation thing, then it usually takes another 20 minutes, 10 to 20 for it to actually kick in. So then it usually kicks in when I'm right at the verge of falling asleep. Is either then I will fall asleep or I will go into this or spiral into the head going in 1,000,000 miles an hour. And even to the point now that I was even able to fall asleep, even though some trauma from 2 years back got brought up in a very bad way that was literally having my head go in like 10 million miles an hour. Just when I did that, I was able to fall asleep even though that was happening. So that would have never ever have happened before, and I'm so glad that this has happened because I'm a singer and I'm a performer. When you have a performance the next day, there will be a lot of anxiety, and that's one of the reasons I've been so trying to dial in my sleep, because I cannot afford to not sleep, because then I cannot perform.
Do you find then that the melatonin helps you? Like, do you take it regularly, or do you just take it daily?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you find, because when I take melatonin, I've had, which I also talk about it more in the episode, I have the experience that I get really intense, vivid dreams. Like, I'll constantly dream that I'm actually back in Glasgow, and just really weird stuff would be going on in my head, and like a lot of the trauma stuff from me as well would like come back up, but in a really weirdly specific way.
I'm not sure. I don't remember my dreams that often, but my dreams have never ever really made any sense at all. I usually
Same.
barely able to make sense of them. But I'm not sure if that's an ADHD very classic, but it might be, who knows, because our minds are moving and jumping for dopamine, so it's a lot of things happening. But
yeah,
I think it's something with just the melatonin for me that has really worked, and just not keeping it at too high of a level. But that's also with like my medication that I'm on. I'm keeping it at the lowest dosage that is actually giving me a slight effect, because before, when I was on the stimulant style medication, I was on a high dose, or not a high dose, but like a semi-high dose, because I thought more is always better. But then I used it as a crutch instead of actually working on my ADHD symptoms and problems, and sort of relying on it. Whereas with this one, it's sort of just as like a small little push in the right direction that then gives me the momentum to get through it on my own.
And do you find that one affects your sleep less because it's not stimulant?
I can even take it like 4 hours before bed, and it doesn't.
Oh.
And I think I also recently quit nicotine, and that also helped with the sleep.
Well done, good for you. I have not.
Yeah, it is. I can tell you will notice more if you have ADHD and you do use nicotine. The second you quit, you will notice your ADHD symptoms so much more.
Wait, when you quit, you're going to notice them more?
Because the nicotine is a stimulant, so it works as a stimulant medication. So we self-medicate ourselves. And when I quit it, I had during my depression, I didn't feel like myself. Something was off, and I was being almost too introspective in like conversations and got social anxiety. And then I went
in the dream.
No, just in general.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and then I went, wait a second here. If I quit, this all started when I started with nicotine, because nicotine ended up slowing down my brain, or I guess like made me calm down, so that I ended up thinking too much, and then that gave me anxiety. So then when I quit it, I no longer think as much, but also therefore more of my ADHD symptoms came, but I'm also much more pleased and happy with myself because I feel like myself again.
Interesting and complex.
I'm not sure if I got that. Mm-hmm. You got anxious with nicotine or without?
Yes. When I had nicotine, when I was using nicotine, I got very socially anxious in the way I was always thinking, oh, well, no one likes me, oh no, like this kind of stuff. And then I was working through my depression and everything, and I was still a bit too much in that direction. So I went, what will happen if I quit? And I just decided, no, I think it's time for me to quit. And then I quit, and then I just noticed how more and more of my old self started coming back from before I started with the nicotine. And it's been a really nice and pleasant journey.
But you've been less anxious since stopping nicotine? Yes,
but more so jumping all around and kind of want to cannot sit still. Before I could actually sit still, but if I had a burst of motivation and wanted to jump at something or do something, I just put it. Because I used the snooze, I put one in, and then I would just calm down and could do something monotonous. But then now I cannot do that, so now I actually have to try to direct it at something and try to not direct it at video games specifically, because that's common pitfall.
I think that's a really interesting topic. I might actually do a specific session on just that. I actually still, because of you, I got into snooze when I was in Glasgow, and I think I still have the little thing. I've not been using it anymore. I think I'm not sure if you can even get it in Switzerland. You can, but it's not like the strong stuff.
No, yeah. I don't recommend it. Well, I do. Yeah. If you're a smoker, it's better if you do that than smoking, because you don't affect anyone else but yourself. And if you do use the non-tobacco ones, it's only the nicotine. And nicotine, there are quite a lot of different studies saying that it can be good in small amounts, but then large amounts, there's not really nothing that much. But if you want to do an episode on that entire thing, I could try to tell the entire story and try to do more research into it as well.
That would be great, yeah. I mean, also because sort of linking that back to sleep, I think that's interesting too, because I remember that because smoking is theoretically supposed to wake you up. It's because it's, as you said, it's a stimulant, but I always felt like whenever I smoke, I feel like it pulls me down. It's the same thing with certain green substances, which I usually avoid, the green grass of home, because it does that same thing to me, but even more extreme. Like whenever I smoke the green stuff, it will pull me down into a hole and relax me too much. And sometimes I get a similar thing from a nicotine rush. I'll feel really dizzy, but then at the same time, it makes me feel sleepy, like I want to sleep, but then I can't sleep because it's stimulating. Does anyone else have that experience with smoking and sleeping?
I have that with caffeine as well.
That's another question that I'd like to pose to the room with caffeine and your guys' relationship to it. So first question.
I'm going to have to head off, by the way, I think.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for joining and
thank you for having me.
Of course.
It's nice meeting you all.
See you soon.
Yeah, bye-bye. How do I leave? Wait.
Have fun.
You too. Bye-bye.
Yeah, bye-bye.
Right. So, yeah, I'd love to know like your guys' relationship to caffeine, and first of all, if it also makes you more tired than alert, and if you find different, like if you have a different effect from different forms of caffeine, so be it chocolate or coffee or energy drinks, and so on and so forth.
I've tried this as in leaving, not smoking for a month. And I think 2022, I tried this for like a month. I did not smoke. And I just made sure that I had no gadgets around me after 9. And it was difficult because when you hear the once a beep, a message, so it just, so that really helped. But that's another thing, I'm not being able to go back to that. But for that period of time, that really helped. But apart from that, somewhere I also realized that it helps me somewhere with anxiety, in the sense that if I'm sitting down and doing nothing or trying to lie down, and if I'm not getting sleep, so just going downstairs, having a smoke, and whenever I smoke, I need something to drink, which is generally tea, and having tea and a smoke. Not the best thing that they say 1 a.m., but it just calms me down somewhere. So it has worked with me like either way, in the sense that once not smoking or not having tea for a month has played its part. At the same time, smoking also somewhere helps, that it really keeps me calm, in the sense of, when I'm going to make tea or I'm going out for a smoke. So somewhere my mind is less active.
So when you say tea, is it green tea or black tea that has caffeine, or is it without caffeine?
It's either Assam tea, which takes a while to make, like it takes 10 minutes to make. So I usually avoid that at night. And that's with milk and like around 5-7 minutes of brewing and so on and so forth.
I think Assam, isn't that black tea as well?
Yeah. So a lot of times I have this Earl Grey or something. So
yeah. But I thought like is it Assam tea? Assam?
Yeah, I think it's the Assam tea. Assam tea is, you just make it in the sense, you put milk and you put tea leaves, and if you want to put ginger or something else, you can add that.
Okay.
So, usually I'm lazy at night, like I don't feel like putting that effort, so I just use one of those tea bags.
Yeah.
And
yeah. Okay, so you find that it does still calm you down, like even if with the caffeine. Yeah.
Yeah, and somewhere I think that it's not really about the tea, because as soon as I finish my smoke, I just throw the remaining part of the tea. So I just need something with my smoke. So I'm not sure how it works, because sometimes it has helped me and sometimes it's just not helped me. So
I hear a lot of people say that when they smoke, they have to have something to drink. I mean, there's also people who will only smoke when they drink alcohol, but I also know that people just need some kind of taste. Like it can't be water, it has to be something for the taste. But I think that's more to do with like the sensory thing. But actually, now that you say it, I do find, because I rarely smoke straight cigarettes anymore, only really when I'm working on set or I'm in a social environment, go out clubbing or something. Usually I do vape. But when I do smoke cigarettes, I also find that when I just have the cigarette, it makes me feel more antsy. Whereas if I have the cigarette and drink something, then it calms me down.
Yeah, and I'm not sure, like maybe when I started smoking, I was just used to having a smoke with something to drink. Or apart from that, I really don't like the aftertaste of smoke. Like I smoke, but I just cannot take it. So somewhere I think that having something to drink with it, it helps, in the sense, get rid of that lingering taste in the mouth of smoke.
Yeah,
So I think somewhere it helps.
Yeah.
I just need my morning coffee with my cigarette. So that's the only time it's really important to me that I have something to drink. And otherwise it's optional. Doesn't really matter. But I also smoke quite a lot and don't drink enough water, not coffee.
Or other things. Yeah.
Yes,
I'm sure that I'm pretty sure that dehydration can absolutely, like, staying hydrated will probably also help your sleep. I'm just going to make that claim because usually drinking water helps everything. But do you find that, so when you say morning coffee, does that wake you up or make you more sleepy?
Neither nor.
Okay.
I'm just used to it. And if I don't drink one, something is missing. So yeah, I would say it does wake me up a bit.
Okay. But it's more the ritual of it than the caffeine.
Or maybe both. It's hard to tell. I'm not sure.
Yeah, fair enough.
Because when someone asks me why do you drink so much of tea or coffee, it's not really to stay awake. Like a lot of people need coffee to stay up, while studying for something or working. It's not that. So sometimes I feel it's just a habit. It's something which I like, or it's almost like if I'm in a theater watching a movie and I see someone on screen smoke, I really feel like, there's this urge to go out and smoke. So it's something like that I'm just used to probably smoking and drinking at certain places. So when I was new to Glasgow, I did not smoke for the first few months. Obviously, coming here for the first time, it just felt that cigarettes are really expensive. So I didn't smoke the first few months, and it did not feel like smoking a lot of times. But once I started, so I just realized that with certain people, with certain companies in certain areas, at certain places, I always have this urge to smoke. So I think it's something to do with just the habit of being at a place or being with certain people.
Absolutely. Same for me. I mean, I've been trying to analyze my own smoking habits too, and I find that I mainly smoke when, like, there was a time when I'd always smoke when I'm waiting for the bus or when I'm walking somewhere when I knew that I have a 5-minute walk from the bus stop to my work. Then I'll always have that one cigarette because I know that that's how long it will take. So that's what I've been trying to cut down on and, like, consciously tell myself I actually don't want a cigarette right now. I'm just doing it out of boredom, and then I'll do something else. That's why I really like the vape, because sometimes I'll put nicotine-free stuff in, or I'll just be on my phone, something else to distract myself from it. I had something to say on that. Was it someone said before something about, I think it was Albin before we left, with the whole fidgety thing, that he feels like when he was smoking it would calm him down, but now he feels a bit more antsy. I kind of get that too, but more in terms of, like, I feel the social anxiety of, now we are just talking about ADHD and smoking, which is fine. I just feel like I need a fidget toy, and the cigarette is kind of, or the vape or whatever to, like, inhale is kind of like my fidget toy. And when I don't have that, I get really nervous and uncomfortable. But when I'm alone, I find it a lot easier to not smoke.
I think, something which is somewhere related, that recently I realized that for a few months when I did not smoke, or when I did not, I left coffee. I haven't had much coffee since 2 years. So I got developed these habits of, either just touching my hair or just scratching here while reading or writing. So eventually I developed these 2 marks here. And one day someone told me, like, what, did someone punch you? So that's when I started, getting conscious. I called the GP, and the GP asked me to upload pictures. And then when she saw the pictures, she said, you come over right away. And then she checked for every possible thing, like for cancer, for pigmentation. She says nothing, is just some external injury. So you probably have got an injury. So I don't think I've got an injury. It's just that maybe, this habit of doing this while reading or writing or just thinking or just generally. And a lot of times I didn't realize, but a second person had to tell me what you're doing. So, and then it was so serious that I actually developed these scars, which the GP says it's probably an external bruise or injury because of some kind of external impact. So
wow,
it may be related to that, but I'm not sure. Like,
it can be. I mean, the sort of like fidgeting, absolutely, and also skin picking is something that's very common.
Yeah.
For ADHD. But that also might be linked to sleep. Like if you are sleep deprived, you're probably more inclined. I don't know if this is a fact, but to me that would make sense that if you're sleep deprived, you're gonna want to do that stuff more often. Because I remember, this is a really weird anecdote, but like I remember, of course, when I was in high school in Gimme, when we'd have some kind of exam or presentation, if I'd have a presentation the next day, I would do an all-nighter, not have slept at all. And then I always had this thing of, I felt like I had a hat on my head. I had like this weird pressure on like the top part of my head. I think it was also because at the time I was wearing this one hat every now and again. But then I'd also always want to like scratch my head or always like try and, I think I'd have my glasses on and I'd always sort of reach for my glasses. And a lot of sort of body reflexes that I do subconsciously, I would do more when I'm sleep deprived. I don't know if any one of you can relate to that or if I'm just crazy.
Yeah, I realize that if I'm sitting with a pen, I'm reading something, so I just keep doing this. For like even an hour, I just go on, and then someone will tell me, okay, you've been doing this since last half an hour. So what's up? So I don't know. I didn't realize.
But do you do that more when you're sleep deprived, or is it just ADHD fidgeting?
I really can't say now when I'm sleep deprived because it's just been like since ever that I haven't been sleeping much. So
it's hard to tell.
And somewhere I really envy people who get sleep. And the people who just say, I'm going to sleep, and then within 5 minutes they start snoring. So like, how do you do that?
Yeah, sometimes I can do it, but sometimes it takes me an hour. So
yeah, and I don't know whether it's a constant thing because I remember when I was in junior school, so be at 9 p.m. and I would start dozing off, or sometimes it would be difficult to keep me up for dinner. That's a different thing. Post dinner, I would just be all up. So yeah. So, but there was a time when it wasn't bad. Like I never slept too much. There was a time when I used to feel sleepy. So I miss that feeling of feeling sleepy right now.
Yeah, I always scratch my head before I sleep. Or, well, there are two possibilities. If my nails are long, I scratch my head. And if my head isn't bloody, I will eat my nails. And usually in bed when I cannot sleep.
I do this thing where my nails, I have like the self-put-on gel nails, and I'll like just start scratching away at them. And you can even see on this nail, it's like starting, the actual nail tissue is like damaged because I like pulled it off. So I relate.
Yeah, I sometimes do that too, or also with the skin next to the nail. That's like my favorite fidget toy somehow. It hurts. It fucking hurts, but I just can't help it.
Yep. That's why I do kind of like having the gel nails on as well. Like, especially I once got it done professionally, and that sort of stopped me from touching my nails all the time because it was like really, really solid. I also have like these nail clippers to like make sure that all the skin is off so I don't start pulling at them. But I think my problem is more like I'll always pop pimples and stuff, and I'll scratch my skin a lot and just try to squeeze things that are not supposed to be squeezed, basically. Yeah. I'm worried about you, Saurabh, that you're saying that you're never sleepy. That's like...
Now, it's just that even if I tell the GP, I'm like, okay, just... I've told them so many times, and which I did not realize, especially when I was back in India, because I had a very busy schedule in the sense I was self-employed in private practice, and there was no time for work in the sense, you would get a call at 2 a.m. if you need help because someone's coming to arrest me or something like that. And in that, I also squeezed my dance classes. I used to go to the studio. And so I was working like 6 to 7 days a week. And maybe that has an impact because when I came here, being a student, after years of working, and then the lockdown, and then even when I started working here, it's just that very less work. So in a sense, I would do like 10 times more work in the same hours. So I just realized that, I have possibly I have more time to do nothing. Ideally, I should have, made good use of the time, but it just somewhere that doesn't happen in the sense that, when I'm trying hard. I mean, and I never really thought about sleep earlier because somewhere I always got these 4 hours, 5 hours, not more than that. But,
It's not
that
enough.
I felt that was enough. But, when I came here, when I had too much of time and too much of nothing to do, so I think somewhere it just started affecting me more.
No, absolutely. I think as much as it is a problem with ADHD, I think it's absolutely is also a societal problem that, like in your job, as well as it is in the film industry, for example, we'll have very up and down schedules of like sometimes we'll have night shoots, sometimes we'll have day shoots. And it's also depending, like for some productions, they'll kind of expect you to be on call for a certain amount of time. I do find it a lot better in Switzerland, though. I feel like in Switzerland, we're good at making rules, but it's still at the same time, I think in general in like Western Europe, it's extreme of how much work is expected from us. Yeah. And therefore, because I have the same thing also when I'm sleeping, that's the same reason why oh god, we only have 1 more minute. Why in the sauna I want to listen to audiobooks or something is because I can't just do nothing. I always want to be doing something. I kind of want to be productive. So I guess a big key to trying to find more sleep as well is to, I don't know. I don't have the answers yet. Because we only have a minute left, I know that we could keep talking for 2 or 3 hours, and I'd love to, and I'm sure we will very soon. This has been a very interesting conversation. Do let me know, anyone, if you have more questions. I'm happy to talk with you one-on-one, or obviously use the chat to just talk to each other, exchange ideas, and if you haven't already, go check out maybe the video on sleep tricks. Maybe one of those might help you to get more than 4 or 5 hours of sleep. But yeah, in that case, thank you all for being here, and see you in the next session.